does he understand why the people of these islands, especially those of us in Scotland...
Well, it's been a huge couple of weeks for Reform UK. We are in the news all the time.
I tell you what was really interesting was Mar-a-Lago yesterday.
Nigel Farage has dropped a political bombshell that's shaking Westminster to its core. In a fiery announcement, Farage accused the Labour government of betraying British democracy by postponing local elections, a move he likened to the tactics of authoritarian regimes. His words have ignited a firestorm of controversy, and many are questioning whether Britain's democratic foundations are under threat. Labour defends the decision, citing council restructuring as the reason for the delay. But Farage and critics across the political spectrum see it differently. With tensions rising and Reform UK surging in the polls, this controversy could mark a turning point in British politics. What's really going on here? Is Labour's move a responsible step toward better governance, or is it a blatant power grab? Stick around as we break down Farage's shocking claims, Labour's defense, and what this battle means for the future of democracy in the UK. And while you're here, make your voice count. Hit subscribe and stay informed. We're here to bring you the unfiltered stories shaping the world today. The announcement that shook Westminster? The controversy erupted when Nigel Farage accused Prime Minister Keir Starmer and the Labour government of postponing the local elections scheduled for May 2025. This isn't just a short delay. There's talk of pushing the elections to 2026 or even 2027. Farage wasted no time in framing the move as a betrayal of democratic principles, accusing Labour of manipulating the system to cling to power. Labour's justification? According to local government minister Jim McMahon, the delay is tied to massive restructuring in councils across key regions like Essex, Kent, and Sussex. Councils are merging, some are being abolished, and boundaries are being redrawn. McMahon insists that rushing into elections before these changes are finalized would create confusion and instability, but Farage isn't buying it. He fired back, calling the delay a desperate attempt to avoid electoral humiliation in battleground areas where Labour is losing support. These regions have seen a surge in backing for opposition parties like Reform UK, making Labour's motives appear suspect to critics. Farage even went so far as to compare Labour's actions to those of authoritarian regimes, accusing them of using reform as a facade to dismantle democracy. The announcement has sparked outrage beyond Farage's base. Opposition leaders and political analysts alike have warned that delaying elections risks undermining public trust in the democratic process. Elections are the cornerstone of democracy, and postponing them, even for logistical reasons, sends a dangerous message to voters. Farage summed it up with his characteristic bluntness. This isn't reform, it's a blatant power grab. With Labour and Reform UK clashing over the very nature of democracy, the stakes have never been higher. Is this truly about restructuring, or is it a calculated political maneuver to buy Labour more time? Farage's fiery response and Reform UK's rise? Nigel Farage didn't just criticize Labour's decision, he went on the offensive, rallying his base and presenting Reform UK as the only party willing to stand up for democracy. In his trademark fiery rhetoric, Farage accused Labour of orchestrating a blatant assault on democracy by delaying elections in regions where they're losing ground. He warned that this is not just a one-off incident, but a signal of deeper rot within the political establishment. Farage didn't stop there. He framed this moment as pivotal, stating that the age-old dominance of Labour and the Conservatives is finally crumbling. Reform UK, according to Farage, is leading a grassroots revolution that will give power back to the people. The polling data backs his claims of momentum. Recent surveys show Reform UK polling in the 20s, neck and neck with Labour and the Conservatives. In some battleground regions like Essex, Kent, and Sussex, areas central to the delayed elections, Reform UK is outpacing Labour. Farage has branded these delays as a desperate attempt by Labour to avoid a crushing defeat. Farage's rhetoric is resonating with a growing number of disillusioned voters. He has painted the election delay as part of a broader pattern of elitist control, accusing Keir Starmer of borrowing tactics from US Democrats to manipulate the system. His message is clear. Reform UK is the only party willing to fight back against the entrenched political establishment. We need a people's army, Farage declared in a recent speech. Labour has failed you. The Tories have betrayed you. Reform UK is your only hope for real change. His call to action is gaining traction, with thousands of new members reportedly joining Reform UK in recent weeks. As Farage rallies his base and surges in the polls, Labour finds itself on the defensive, scrambling to justify its decision to delay the elections. Labour's defense and growing backlash. Labour's official explanation for the election delay focuses on restructuring local councils. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner has emphasized that merging councils, redrawing boundaries, and modernizing governance systems are necessary steps to ensure long-term stability and efficiency. According to Labour, holding elections during this period of upheaval would lead to confusion and undermine the effectiveness of local governments. Angela Rayner also unveiled the English Devolution White Paper, which promises to transfer power from Westminster to regional councils. Rayner framed the paper as a bold plan to empower communities and drive economic growth. This is about giving power back to the people where it belongs, she stated. However, critics have been quick to point out the glaring contradiction. How can Labour claim to empower communities while postponing the very elections that allow those communities to have a voice? Reform UK has seized on this inconsistency, with Farage branding Labour's devolution promises as hollow words. Public reaction to the delay has been mixed, but one sentiment is clear. Trust in government is at an all-time low. Recent polls reveal that many voters see the postponement as a convenient excuse to delay accountability. In regions like Essex and Kent, where Labour's support is waning, the decision to delay elections is viewed with suspicion. The backlash isn't limited to Reform UK. Political analysts, opposition leaders, and even some Labour insiders are questioning the wisdom of the delay. Critics warn that this move risks further alienating an already disillusioned electorate, deepening the divide between voters and the political establishment. As the controversy escalates, Labour's attempts to shift the narrative, emphasizing governance and stability, are being drowned out by accusations of manipulation and authoritarianism. With public trust hanging by a thread, the election delay may prove to be a gamble Labour can't afford to lose. A threat to democracy? The postponement of local elections isn't just a political controversy, it's a test of Britain's democratic integrity. Elections are the cornerstone of any functioning democracy, providing citizens with the opportunity to hold their leaders accountable. Delaying them, even under the guise of council restructuring, sets a dangerous precedent that critics warn could erode public trust in the political system. Nigel Farage has framed this moment as a direct assault on the democratic process, comparing it to tactics used by authoritarian regimes. This isn't just about local governance, Farage argued. It's about the Labour Party rewriting the rules to cling to power while silencing the people. The implications of this delay extend beyond the immediate controversy. Critics argue that by postponing elections, Labour is signaling to voters that their voices can be deferred whenever it's politically convenient. This risks alienating an electorate that already feels disconnected from the political establishment. Labour supporters, however, maintain that the delay is a practical measure to ensure smooth governance. They argue that rushing into elections amid council mergers and boundary changes would only create chaos and confusion. This is about stability and efficiency, Angela Rayner reiterated, attempting to reframe the delay as responsible leadership rather than a power grab. But the timing of the delay raises questions Labour has struggled to answer. Why now, when voter dissatisfaction is at an all-time high? Why in regions like Essex, Kent, and Sussex, where opposition parties are gaining ground? The perception of strategic maneuvering is hard to ignore, and it's fueling Farage's narrative of a government desperate to avoid accountability. This isn't just a battle between Labour and Reform UK, it's a referendum on the state of British democracy. As the controversy deepens, the question looms large. Can Britain's democratic institutions withstand the erosion of public trust? This isn't just about one election cycle. It's about the future of British democracy. Will voters see Labour's decision as a necessary reform, or will it fuel the rise of opposition movements like Reform UK? The decisions made now will shape the political landscape for years to come. What do you think? Is Labour's move a responsible step toward stability, or is it a dangerous power grab that threatens democracy itself? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more hard-hitting analysis of the stories shaping the world today. Your voice matters now more than ever.